Welcome to RotaRail Tech Series number 2. Today we're going to talk about the mods we're doing to the rotors, try and make them a bit more robust given the problems that we had before, and just walk you through the different things that we're doing to it. So here's the rotor gear. This one I've already pushed off, pressed off, and I've tapped 3 of the roll pin holes ready for set screws. To tap those, you have to get the gear off because of the shape. You can't really tap it accurately, so you've got to push the gear off. With the aluminium rotors, the Billet mates, they provide these 6 holes in the back, and so to get the gear off, what you do is you machine up 6 bolts that can slot down in there that are the same length, and that'll push the rotor gear off. Pretty simple. Took a while to figure it out, but it was pretty simple in the end. So that gets the gear off, and then you're kind of stuck with the roll pin still in there. I tried making a puller to get them off, and I tried to EDM them out. In the end, what I ended up doing is just made a little startup and basically just tigged it on each one in turn and just pulled them out with the slide hammer. So that turned out to be the quickest and easiest way to get them out. And I just put a bit of strip of steel behind the roll pin so I didn't damage the rotor at all. So that got all the roll pins out, and so then basically I've prepped it now. This one I'll press on, which is what I've done on this one here already. So this one's pressed, and I've put 9 roll pins in it, and now I just have to tap the set screw hole into the rotor part and then Loctite the set screw in, and then this is a new rotor. Just got to push a bearing in and we're done. This is the one I managed to salvage out of the motor. Come up, it's pretty good. There's nothing in that's just marked up a little bit, but you can't actually feel it. So I'll be putting a new bearing in this one as well, and set screw it as well, because both the gears actually walked out a little bit. On this rotor it was about 8 thou. And on the rotor that we destroyed, it was quite a bit more. So get that finished, then get the bearings in, and yeah, I've made up in the process of making up a jig, so just got to finish drilling this out, tap one of the holes, and we'll cover that in a minute. And so with the set screw holes, what I ended up deciding to do was if you put an 8mm one in there, it doesn't leave a lot of meat on the outside of the screw. So rather than do that, what I actually did was I got some 7x1mm cap screws, socket head cap screws, and then what I've done is I've machined the heads off them, and then I've EDM'd the hex in them to make a nice long set screw. So you can't really buy 7mm set screws. At least not in the sort of length that you need. You can get them like they're 5 or 6mm long. It's no good. So just made my own, EDM to hex in it, and that's what I'll use. And these are equivalent to grade 8, so pretty strong. So that'll be going on there. So I've pressed the gear on now. Pretty straightforward. Just gonna make sure you don't get it a bit too cocked when you put it in the hole, and then just press it down. They're a fairly tight fit in the alloy rotors, but don't need that much actual pressure to get them down. And then you can just check this is a 1/2 thou feeler gauge, and just make sure it doesn't go under it, so that you know you've got it fully seated. And that's all pretty good. So the next step's putting in the roll pins. I'm actually using some Loctite 620 on them, and when you put them in, what I have been doing is put the Loctite on, drive it most of the way down with the split facing inwards, and then the small one put in 180 degrees out with some Loctite on as well. That way, if they're 180 degrees apart, they provide more tension. So just another little trick. So yeah, I'll go ahead and do that now, and then finish tapping the holes. So now we've got our 9 roll pins in, so now we just have to tap the 3 holes down into the rotor. I'll wait for this one to dry first. This is the one I did a couple of days ago, and I've already tapped one of the holes down and marked the tap at the right depth. So the set screw top of it is just under the land for the oil control ring. So I'll go around and tap those, flush those out, wait for them to dry, then I'll primer it and put the set screws in with some 727 or 272 I mean, and then this one will be ready for the bearing. So there we are. Got 3 set screws in, all Loctited, roll pins, gears on, bearings in. All I've got to do now is wait until tomorrow morning, till this, just give this time to set properly, and then I'll finish my little jig off and that drop in there, so I can drill down, tap the 3 holes, 3 equally spaced holes for the 4mm set screws to retain the bearing, and then these will be good to go. Just have to cut the side seals and ready to start building the engine. So here's the finished jig for drilling the set screw holes for the rotor bearing. So it's got 3 holes in it already, so you can just drill straight down into that to the right depth. Then the 4th hole is actually tapped, so once I drill those and loosen it, spin that around, line up with each one, start the thread onto each hole. That way if I've ever got to take the rotor bearing out, I can re-tap a new rotor bearing without having to drill more holes into the rotor itself. So just about to finish this one. This one I just did. Set screws are installed, bearings all clearanced, about 3.5 thou on the eave shaft. So this one's ready just to clean up and, like I said, cut the side seals and then ready to install. Thanks for watching and keep an eye out for the next episode.